The fluorescent lights of Blackwood Enterprises hummed softly as Sophia Martinez pushed her cleaning cart down the empty corridor of the 40th floor. It was nearly midnight. The towering glass building that housed one of the most powerful tech companies in New York City was finally quiet. Sophia preferred it this way. The silence meant no awkward encounters with the executives who barely noticed her existence during the day. She was invisible, just another cleaner in a navy blue uniform, and she had accepted that reality long ago. Good start. I need to continue building the scene, introduce the incident, and then introduce Ethan. Let me continue with natural flowing paragraphs. Keeping it at 1,300 words for this part, Sophia was 26 years old, but some days she felt twice that age. The weight of responsibility had settled on her shoulders when she was just 19. The day her parents died in a car accident and left her to raise her 14-year-old sister, Emma. Now, Emma was in her second year at Columbia University, studying to become a doctor, and every dollar Sophia earned went toward making that dream possible. The night shift at Blackwood Enterprises paid better than most cleaning jobs, and Sophia was grateful for it, even if it meant she rarely saw sunlight anymore. Tonight had been particularly exhausting. A corporate event had taken place on the executive floor, and the aftermath was worse than usual. Empty champagne glasses littered every surface, and someone had spilled red wine on the cream-colored carpet in the main conference room. Sophia had spent an extra hour scrubbing at the stain, her knees aching from kneeling on the hard floor. By the time she finished, her uniform was damp with sweat and cleaning solution, clinging uncomfortably to her skin. She glanced at her watch. It was past midnight now, and she still had 3 more floors to clean before her shift ended at 6 in the morning. Sophia sighed and wheeled her cart toward the employee bathroom on the 40th floor. But when she tried the door, she found it locked. Maintenance must have closed it for repairs. The next nearest bathroom was 5 floors down, and Sophia did not have the energy to make that trip. Then she remembered the small, private bathroom attached to the executive conference room she had just cleaned. It was reserved for high-level meetings, but at this hour, no one would be around. Sophia hesitated for only a moment before deciding it would be fine. She could quickly change into a fresh uniform and get back to work. No one would ever know. The conference room was dark, except for the ambient light, filtering through the floor-to-ceiling windows that overlooked the glittering cityscape. Sophia did not bother turning on the main lights. She made her way to the attached bathroom, but when she opened the door, she found it was just a powder room, with no space to change comfortably. Frustrated and too tired to care, Sophia decided to change quickly in the conference room itself. It was dark, it was private, and she would be done in 30 seconds. What Sophia did not know was that every room in Blackwood Enterprises was equipped with state-of-the-art security cameras, including this one. And what she certainly could not have known was that 43 floors above her. In the penthouse office that served as both workspace and occasional residence, Ethan Blackwood was still awake, reviewing security footage from the corporate event to ensure nothing valuable had gone missing. Ethan Blackwood was 34 years old and had built his technology empire from the ground up. He was brilliant, driven, and according to every magazine that featured him, one of the most eligible bachelors in the country. But Ethan rarely thought about his personal life. His company was his world, and he poured every ounce of his energy into making it succeed. Tonight was no different. He sat at his massive desk, a glass of scotch untouched beside him, as he scrolled through camera feeds on his computer. He was about to close the program and call it a night when movement on one of the screens caught his attention. It was the executive conference room on the 40th floor. Someone was there. Ethan frowned and clicked on the feed to get a better view, concerned that someone might be attempting to access confidential information. But what he saw made him freeze. A woman stood in the center of the conference room, silhouetted against the city lights. She was pulling off her uniform top, and even in the dim lighting, Ethan could see the graceful curve of her shoulders, the way her dark hair fell in soft waves down her back. She moved unself-consciously, clearly believing she was alone and unobserved. There was something so natural and unguarded about her movements that Ethan found himself unable to look away. He knew he should close the feed immediately. This was a massive invasion of privacy, and everything in him screamed that watching was wrong. But he was paralyzed, not by desire, but by something else entirely. There was a vulnerability in the way she moved, a weariness in her posture that spoke of exhaustion and hardship. When she turned slightly, he caught a glimpse of her face, and something in his chest tightened. She was beautiful, but not in the polished, calculated way of the women he usually encountered at social events. Her beauty was raw and real, the kind that did not need makeup or designer clothes to shine through. Even in her simple cleaning uniform, even in this compromising moment, there was a dignity about her that demanded respect. Ethan closed the feed with shaking hands, his heart pounding. He sat back in his chair and ran his fingers through his dark hair, disturbed by his own reaction. He had seen thousands of beautiful women in his life. He had dated models and actresses and heiresses. So why did this one woman, the stranger he had glimpsed for barely a minute, affect him so profoundly? He told himself it was just surprise, just the unexpectedness of the moment. But deep down, Ethan knew it was more than that. There had been something in that brief glimpse that had reached past all his carefully constructed walls and touched something he had thought long dead. For the first time in years, Ethan Blackwood felt truly awake. The next morning, Sophia dragged herself home to the small two-bedroom apartment in Queens that she shared with Emma. Her sister was already awake, studying at the kitchen table with textbooks spread around her like a paper fortress. Emma looked up when Sophia entered, her young face creasing with concern. "You look exhausted," Emma said, pushing a cup of coffee across the table toward her sister. "Did you sleep at all?" "I will sleep now," Sophia replied, managing a tired smile. "How are your classes going?" They talked for a few minutes, Emma chattering excitedly about her anatomy course while Sophia listened with half-closed eyes. This was what made everything worthwhile, Sophia thought. Seeing her little sister happy and thriving, knowing that all the sacrifices meant something. Emma had a bright future ahead of her, and Sophia would endure anything to make sure nothing stood in the way of that future. But as Sophia finally stumbled to her bedroom and collapsed onto her bed, she could not shake a strange feeling of unease. It was as if the universe had shifted slightly while she was not paying attention. Like something significant had happened that she was not yet aware of. She dismissed the feeling as exhaustion and closed her eyes. Unaware that 43 floors above the building where she worked, a billionaire was making a decision that would change both their lives forever. Ethan Blackwood wanted to know who she was. Ethan Blackwood had access to every personnel file in his company, but he resisted the urge to simply look up the mystery woman from the security footage. That felt too much like stalking, too much like abusing his power. Instead, he found himself doing something he had not done in years. He stayed late at the office telling himself it was to catch up on work, but really waiting for a glimpse of her. It took 3 nights before he saw her again. Ethan was walking down the corridor on the 40th floor, pretending to check on something trivial when he spotted her at the far end of the hallway. She was emptying a trash bin, her movements efficient and practiced. The fluorescent lights cast a soft glow on her features, and Ethan felt that same strange tightening in his chest that he had experienced when he first saw her on the camera feed. He walked toward her slowly, trying to appear casual, but his heart was racing in a way that felt completely foreign. Ethan Blackwood had negotiated billion-dollar deals without breaking a sweat, had given presentations to thousands of people without a trace of nervousness. But approaching this woman made him feel like an awkward teenager again. "Excuse me?" he said when he was close enough that she could hear him without him having to shout. Sophia looked up, startled, and Ethan saw her eyes widen as she recognized him. Everyone in the building knew who Ethan Blackwood was. His face was on the cover of business magazines, on the company website, on the massive portrait hanging in the lobby. She straightened immediately, her posture going rigid with obvious nervousness. "Mr. Blackwood," she said quietly. Ethan noticed she did not quite meet his eyes. "Is there something I can help you with? Did I miss something during cleaning?" No, nothing like that," Ethan assured her quickly, realizing she thought she was in trouble. "I just wanted to introduce myself properly. I do not think we have met before." It was a lie, of course. Executives did not typically introduce themselves to cleaning staff, and both of them knew it. Sophia looked confused but polite, clearly unsure how to respond to this bizarre situation. "I am Sophia Martinez, sir," she said after a moment, still not meeting his eyes. "I work the night shift." "It is nice to meet you, Sophia," Ethan said, and he meant it more than he had meant anything in a long time. "How long have you been with the company?" "Almost 3 years now," Sophia replied, her hands fidgeting with the edge of her cleaning cart. Ethan noticed her fingers were red and chapped, probably from constant exposure to cleaning chemicals. Something about that detail made his heart ache in a way he did not fully understand. They stood in awkward silence for a moment, and Ethan scrambled to think of something else to say, some way to prolong this conversation. But Sophia spoke first, her voice apologetic. "I should get back to work, Mr. Blackwood. I still have several floors to finish tonight, of course," Ethan said, stepping aside. "But maybe I will see you around?" Sophia gave him a small, uncertain smile and nodded before pushing her cart down the hallway. Ethan watched her go, feeling like he had just failed some kind of important test. That had been terrible, he thought. Awkward and stilted and nothing like what he had hoped for. But at least now, he knew her name. Sophia Martinez. It was a beautiful name. Over the following weeks, Ethan found more and more excuses to stay late at the office. He told his assistant he was working on a new project that required absolute quiet and concentration, which was only possible after hours. In reality, he was engineering chance encounters with Sophia, brief conversations in hallways and break rooms that slowly began to feel less awkward and more natural. Sophia, for her part, was completely bewildered by the attention from her boss. She could not understand why one of the richest men in the country would want to chat with a cleaning woman about her day. At first, she worried it was some kind of test, that he was checking to see if employees were working hard enough. But as their conversations continued, she started to sense something else in his manner. A genuine interest, a kindness that seemed unrelated to anything professional. One night, about a month after their first conversation, Ethan found Sophia sitting on the floor of an empty office, her back against the wall and her head in her hands. He almost walked past, not wanting to intrude, but something about her posture alarmed him. "She looked defeated in a way he had never seen before, Sophia," he said softly, stepping into the office. "Are you all right?" She looked up quickly, and Ethan saw that her eyes were red, though she was not actively crying. She scrambled to her feet, wiping at her face with the back of her hand. "Mr. Blackwood, I am sorry. I was just taking a short break. I will get back to work right now. Please, sit down," Ethan said gently, gesturing to one of the office chairs. "You look upset. What happened?" Sophia hesitated, clearly torn between the ingrained habit of keeping personal problems private and the desperate need to talk to someone. Finally, exhaustion won out, and she sank into the chair, her shoulders slumping. "It is nothing," she said quietly. "Just money problems. It is always money problems." Ethan sat down across from her, leaning forward with his elbows on his knees. "Do you want to talk about it?" And somehow, in that quiet office, with the city lights twinkling beyond the windows, Sophia found herself telling Ethan Blackwood everything. She told him about her parents' death, about raising Emma alone, about working 2 jobs to keep them afloat. She told him about Emma's tuition bills, about the medical expenses from when her sister had gotten sick last year, about the constant fear of one unexpected expense that would topple their precarious financial balance. Emma got accepted into a summer research program, Sophia said, her voice breaking slightly. "It is an amazing opportunity. It could really help her future career. But it is unpaid, and I do not know how we will manage without her part-time job income for those months. I told her to turn it down, but she is insisting she will figure something out." Ethan listened to all of this, his heart breaking for this woman who carried so much weight on her shoulders and never complained. When Sophia finally finished talking, she looked embarrassed, as if she had just realized she had been pouring her heart out to the CEO of the company. "I am sorry," she said quickly. "You did not ask for my life story. I should not have bothered you with all this. You did not bother me," Ethan said firmly. "Sophia, I want to help you." Sophia's expression immediately closed off, becoming guarded. "Thank you, but I do not need charity, Mr. Blackwood. I will figure it out like I always do." "It is not charity," Ethan said. "I have been thinking about creating a new position in the company, an administrative assistant role focused on employee wellness and facilities management. It would be a day shift position with full benefits and a salary of $75,000 a year. I think you would be perfect for it." Sophia stared at him, her mouth slightly open in shock. "Mr. Blackwood, I appreciate the offer, but I only have a high school diploma. I am not qualified for that kind of position. You are more qualified than you think. Ethan insisted. You know this building better than anyone. You understand what employees need because you see the results of their work every day. And more importantly, you are intelligent, hardworking, and dedicated. Those are the qualities I value most. Sophia shook her head slowly, standing up from the chair. This is because I told you about my problems. You feel sorry for me? I cannot accept a job out of pity. Ethan stood as well, frustrated that she could not see what he saw. Sophia, I have been looking for the right person for this position for months. I am not offering it out of pity. I am offering it because you are genuinely the best candidate. But Sophia was already backing toward the door, her expression a mixture of gratitude and wounded pride. Thank you, Mr. Blackwood, but no. I will stick with what I know. And please, let's just forget I said anything tonight. I was just having a weak moment before Ethan could respond. She was gone, her footsteps echoing down the hallway as she hurried away. He stood alone in the empty office, frustrated with himself for handling that so badly. He had wanted to help her, to ease her burden. But instead, he had made her feel like a charity case. Ethan walked to the window and looked out at the city below. Millions of lights twinkled in the darkness, each one representing a person with their own struggles and dreams. Somewhere out there, Sophia was probably berating herself for opening up to him, for showing vulnerability to her boss. And Ethan could not stop thinking about the way her eyes had looked when she talked about her sister. Full of love and determination and bone-deep weariness, he had to tell her the truth. He had to explain why he really wanted to help her, why he had been seeking her out all these weeks. But how could he possibly explain that he had seen her on a security camera in a private moment? And instead of feeling guilty, he had felt something shift fundamentally in his understanding of what he wanted from life. Ethan pulled out his phone and opened the security system. He navigated to that night, to that footage, and he watched it one more time. Not with any improper intent, but trying to understand what it was about Sophia Martinez that had reached past all his defenses and touched his heart as he watched her move unselfconsciously. Changing her shirt with no idea she was being observed, Ethan finally understood. It was her authenticity, her realness, in a world where everyone he knew performed a role. Sophia did not perform. She simply existed, tired and struggling and beautiful in her honesty. He deleted the footage. It was the right thing to do, the only thing to do. And then Ethan Blackwood, who had built an empire through careful planning and strategic thinking, decided to do something completely uncharacteristic. He decided to follow his heart wherever it might lead, and fight for the woman who had accidentally shown him what was missing from his carefully constructed life. 3 days passed after their conversation in the empty office, and Sophia tried to put the entire embarrassing incident out of her mind. She focused on her work, kept her head down, and avoided the 40th floor as much as possible. But on Thursday night, as she was cleaning the executive washroom on the 42nd floor, her phone rang. It was an unknown number. "Hello," she answered cautiously. "Ms. Martinez, this is Jennifer from Human Resources. We need you to come to the HR office immediately. There has been an incident that requires your attention." Sophia's stomach dropped. Had someone complained about her? Had she done something wrong? She made her way to the HR department with trembling hands, running through every possible mistake she might have made. When she entered the office, Jennifer sat behind her desk with a serious expression. And there was another woman present, someone Sophia recognized as the head of building security. "Please sit down, Ms. Martinez," Jennifer said. Gesturing to a chair, Sophia sat, her heart pounding. "What is this about?" Jennifer exchanged a glance with the security officer before speaking. "We have become aware that you were captured on security camera footage in a compromising situation last month, in the executive conference room on the 40th floor." The blood drained from Sophia's face. She felt like the floor had opened beneath her, like she was falling through space with nothing to catch her. "No," she whispered. "Please, I did not know there were cameras. I just needed to change my uniform and the bathroom was locked. We understand it was unintentional," Jennifer said, her voice professional but not unkind. "However, we need to inform you that this footage was accessed and viewed by someone in the company." Sophia's humiliation turned to horror. "Who?" she managed to ask, though part of her already knew the answer. "Mr. Blackwood," the security officer said quietly. He was reviewing security feeds from that evening and came across the footage. He has since deleted it and filed a formal report with us about the privacy violation. He wanted you to be informed and has requested that we take steps to ensure this never happens again. Sophia felt like she might vomit. Ethan had seen her. He had watched that footage. Every conversation they had shared over the past month, every kind word, every offer to help. It had all been built on this foundation of her humiliation. He had known the entire time, had watched her most vulnerable moment, and had never said a word. Ms. Martinez. Jennifer's voice seemed to come from very far away. Are you all right? Sophia stood abruptly, the chair scraping against the floor. I quit, she said, her voice shaking with emotion. Effective immediately. I quit, Ms. Martinez. Please reconsider. Jennifer stood as well, looking alarmed. Mr. Blackwood has implemented new privacy protocols because of this incident. You are not in any trouble, but Sophia was already backing toward the door, tears streaming down her face. She could not stay here. She could not work in this building knowing that Ethan Blackwood had seen her like that, had pitied her, had offered her a job out of guilt or some twisted sense of obligation. The kindness she thought she had seen in him had been a lie. Or worse, it had been pity. She ran from the HR office, not bothering to collect her belongings from her locker, not saying goodbye to any of her coworkers. She just needed to get out, to breathe air that did not smell like this building. To put as much distance as possible between herself and the source of her shame, Sophia made it to the subway. Before she completely broke down, sobbing in a corner of the train car, while other passengers carefully avoided looking at her. She had never felt so exposed, so violated, so utterly humiliated in her entire life. And the worst part was that she had started to trust him. She had started to think that maybe Ethan Blackwood saw something worthwhile in her beyond her circumstances. But it had all been a lie. When Ethan arrived at his office the next morning, he was informed that Sophia Martinez had resigned. He felt his world tilt sideways. No, he said to his assistant. When did this happen? Last night, sir. She left immediately after meeting with HR. Ethan closed his eyes, understanding flooding through him. The HR department had informed her about the security footage just as he had requested they do. He had thought he was being ethical, making sure she knew about the privacy violation so she could make informed decisions. But he had not considered how she would feel learning about it this way. From strangers, with no context or explanation from him, he had hurt her. Worse than that, he had humiliated her and broken whatever fragile trust had been building between them. Get me her address, Ethan said to his assistant. Right now, sir, I do not think that is appropriate. I am not asking, Ethan said, his voice harder than he intended. Please, I need to fix this an hour later. Ethan stood outside a modest apartment building in Queens, feeling more nervous than he had ever felt in his life. He had faced down hostile boardrooms and cutthroat competitors without flinching. But the thought of knocking on Sophia's door terrified him. What if she refused to see him? What if she hated him now? What if he had destroyed something precious before it even had a chance to begin? He knocked before he could lose his nerve. The door opened, and a young woman who looked like a younger version of Sophia stood there, her expression immediately suspicious. Can I help you? My name is Ethan Blackwood. I work with your sister. Is Sophia here? Emma's eyes widened in recognition. You are the CEO. What are you doing at our apartment? I need to speak with Sophia. It is important. Please, she does not want to talk to you, Emma said, starting to close the door. She came home crying last night and has not stopped. Whatever you did, leave her alone, Emma. Who is it? Sophia's voice came from inside the apartment, and then she appeared behind her sister. When she saw Ethan, her face went pale and then flushed with anger. Get out, she said, her voice shaking. You have no right to come here, Sophia. Please. I need to explain. Explain what? That you watched me without my knowledge? That every kind word you said was because you felt sorry for the pathetic cleaning woman who accidentally exposed herself. I do not need your explanations or your pity. It was not pity, Ethan said desperately. Please, just give me 5 minutes. If you still want me to leave after that, I will go and never bother you again. Sophia looked at him for a long moment. and Ethan could see the war happening behind her eyes. Finally, she sighed. 5 minutes. Emma, it is okay. You can go study. Emma gave Ethan a warning look before disappearing into another room. Sophia crossed her arms over her chest, not inviting him inside, making him stand in the doorway. She said. Ethan took a deep breath. You are right. I saw the security footage that night, and yes, I should have looked away immediately. Should have closed the feed the moment I realized what was happening. But I did not. I watched for maybe 30 seconds before I came to my senses and stopped it. Sophia's expression remained hard, unforgiving. But it was not what you think. Ethan continued. I was not watching you in some voyeuristic way. What struck me was not your body, Sophia. It was your humanity. There was something so real and unguarded about that moment. In my world, everyone performs all the time. Everyone is trying to be someone to project an image. But you were just being yourself, tired and hardworking and authentic. And it broke something open in me that I did not even know was closed. You had no right. Sophia said quietly, but her voice had lost some of its edge. You are absolutely correct. I had no right. That is why I deleted the footage and reported the incident to HR. I wanted you to know about it because you deserve to make informed choices about whether to continue working there. But I handled it badly. I should have told you myself, explained it to you face to face. It's not let you find out from strangers. Sophia was silent for a moment, processing his words. Then why did you keep talking to me? Why offer me that job? Was it guilt? No, Ethan said firmly. It was because every conversation we had confirmed what I sensed in that first glimpse. You are remarkable, Sophia. You are intelligent and strong and kind. You have sacrificed everything for your sister without complaint. You work harder than anyone I know. You deserve so much more than what life has given you, and I wanted to help because you matter to me. I matter to you. Sophia repeated, her voice skeptical. You do not even know me. I want to know you, Ethan said, and his voice was raw with emotion he could not hide. I have spent the last month finding excuses to talk to you, staying late just for the chance to see you, because you make me feel something I have not felt in years. You make me feel alive. Sophia stared at him, her arms still crossed defensively. What are you saying? I am saying that I have feelings for you, Sophia. Real feelings. Not pity, not guilt, not some savior complex. I am saying that I think about you constantly, that I care about your happiness, that I want to be part of your life if you will let me. I am saying that I am falling in love with you. The words hung in the air between them. Sophia's eyes were wide, her breath coming fast. You cannot be serious. She said finally, we are from completely different worlds. You are a billionaire. I am a cleaning woman with a high school education. This does not make sense. Love does not have to make sense, Ethan said. And I do not care about our different backgrounds. I care about you. The question is, do you feel anything for me? Sophia bit her lip, and Ethan could see tears forming in her eyes. I do not know, she whispered. I thought I was starting to, but then I found out about the camera, and I felt so betrayed and humiliated. I know. I am so sorry for that. But Sophia, if you give me a chance, I will spend every day proving to you that my feelings are real. I will introduce you to my mother, my friends, everyone important in my life. I will be transparent about everything. No more secrets, no more misunderstandings, just honesty. Sophia looked at him for a long moment, and Ethan could see the fear and hope warring in her expression. Finally, she spoke. If we try this, and I am not saying we are, but if we did, it would have to be as equals. I will not be your charity case or your project to fix. I have my pride. I would not want it any other way, Ethan said. You are not a project, Sophia. You are a woman I admire and respect. And if you give me a chance, I will prove that to you every single day. Sophia uncrossed her arms slowly, her posture softening. One chance, she said quietly. You get one chance. But if you hurt me or make me feel like I am not good enough, I am gone. Understood? Understood, Ethan said, and he could not keep the smile off his face. Thank you. You will not regret this. I hope not. Sophia said, but she was almost smiling too. 6 months later, Sophia stood in the conference room of the newly opened Martinez Foundation, looking out at the New York City skyline with a sense of accomplishment that still felt surreal. The foundation, funded by Ethan, but operated independently by Sophia, provided scholarships and support services to young people who had lost their parents. It was her dream made real, her pain transformed into purpose. Emma was thriving in her summer research program, no longer worried about money or the future, and Sophia had discovered a passion for nonprofit work that fulfilled her in ways she had never imagined possible. She had completed online courses in business management, had hired a small but dedicated staff, and was making a real difference in people's lives. The door opened behind her, and she felt Ethan's arms wrap around her waist, his chin resting on her shoulder. "How was your day?" he murmured. "Productive," Sophia said, leaning back against him. "We approved 15 new scholarship applications. 15 kids who will get to go to college now. You are amazing," Ethan said, and she could hear the pride in his voice. "I knew you would be brilliant at this." Sophia turned in his arms, looking up at the man who had changed her life in ways she never could have predicted. They had not been without challenges. There had been awkward dinners with his high society friends, moments when Sophia felt out of place, times when she questioned whether she belonged in his world. But Ethan had been patient and supportive, never making her feel less than, always treating her as an equal partner. His mother, Helena, had surprised them both by becoming one of Sophia's biggest supporters. Seeing in her the same strength and determination that had attracted Ethan, Emma adored Ethan, grateful for how he had helped her sister without ever making them feel indebted. "I love you," Sophia said, the words coming easily now, without fear or doubt. "I love you too," Ethan replied, kissing her softly. "Thank you for taking a chance on me. Thank you for seeing me," Sophia said, really seeing me as they stood together in the fading sunlight. Surrounded by the evidence of what they had built together, Sophia realized that the security camera incident that had once seemed like the most humiliating moment of her life had actually been the beginning of everything good. It had brought Ethan into her world and her into his. And together, they had created something neither of them could have built alone. Sometimes, she thought, the most embarrassing moments lead to the most beautiful transformations. Sometimes being seen, truly seen, is exactly what we need, even when we are not ready for it. And sometimes love finds us in the most unexpected ways. In the glow of security cameras, in the quiet halls of late-night office buildings, when we are just being ourselves, tired and real and perfectly imperfect. Their story was not a fairy tale. It was better. It was real. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this story. If you enjoyed this content, don't forget to click like. Share this story with your friends and family, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on more meaningful stories.